Ric Flair's last match in Nashville, Tennessee was historic in more ways than one. It's This Week in Regret. Hello and welcome to everyone. Well, Ric Flair's final match at the age of 73 may not have been the most beautiful match to watch, but as a wise man once said, the numbers don't lie. The Wrestling Observer reports that the independent pay-per-view drew more than 6,800 fans to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium for a live gate revenue of nearly $450,000. The show drew between 20 and 25,000 streaming pay-per-view buys and nearly 4,200 more on traditional pay-per-view. Those numbers make it the second largest independent show ever, just behind 2018's All In, which drew 10,500 fans with a live gate revenue of $458,000. Well, having been there in person for it, I can tell you I thought the show was pretty darn fun to watch. Seeing the fans hang on just about every match that happened that night was really cool to see. And I know that the phrase dream card gets kind of bandied about a lot today in wrestling, but with all those different promotions working together on that night, it was a dream card. And it's good to hear that the show did pretty well for itself financially. Once again, I will have a review of Ric Flair's last match, the pay-per-view, on my channel in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. AEW's Talent Relations Department's getting a big makeover this week. It was announced on Wednesday that Tony Khan's expanding the Talent Relations team with big promotions in-house. Sanjay Dutt has been promoted to Vice President of Production and Creative Coordination. QT Marshall's been promoted to Vice President of Show and Creative Coordination. Pat Buck is now Vice President of Talent Development, and Tony Schiavone's been moved to Senior Producer and Special Advisor to Talent. Christopher Daniels remains the Manager of Talent Relations, and meanwhile, Madison Rain's been signed on as a coach of the women's division. Well, it certainly sounds like positive news. I know from reading the reports over the years that one of the most consistent issues AEW's had behind the scenes, based on wrestlers who used to work for the company, is how difficult it was getting an audience with Tony Khan, since he was the main point man for everything, but he had a million jobs to juggle at once. Now it sounds like Tony is delegating things to a lot of really qualified people, and I can only assume that now that those line of communications, the chain of command, will make for a better flow for the show. All the people that are listed in the press release, the ones they've promoted and the ones that are there, I think that they're all very qualified. They certainly have the know-how on how to run shows and communicate effectively with talent. Hearing that Madison Rain has been hired on as a coach for the women's division, I think is great. They can always use more input and more perspective from people who were there, and Madison Rain has certainly done a lot in her career, so I think she can only be a boon to the women's division for sure. So definitely sounds like a lot of great hires and promotions all around. So we'll see how that translates to the actual product in the very short term, I'd hope. Speaking of AEW, we're learning new details about their upcoming video game Fight Forever. A trailer featuring Tony Schiavone and Britt Baker playing the game was leaked earlier this week that shows unfinished gameplay footage, which included the use of weapons and a plethora of mini-games. On Wednesday, THQ Nordic put out a press release for the game, promising, quote, an arcade feel that first won wrestling gamer hearts more than 2 decades ago, a long roster, and a deep career mode. The release advertises lots of match types and lots of customization modes, including create a wrestler, custom movesets, entrances, teams, and arenas. There is currently no official release date for Fight Forever, though Amazon has listed December 31st of this year as their release date. Well, based on the trailer, I think the game looks fun. Obviously, we don't know the full story because it is incomplete game footage, and they haven't really advertised what the controls are going to be like, besides it'll be that arcade feel. But I am very optimistic about this game. I don't need something hyper-realistic. I don't need something that looks as clean and crisp as like the WWE 2K games. I just want something that's fun and easy to play, and hopefully Fight Forever can do that. I'm excited to see what wrestlers they have there. I'm excited to see the mini games they have. We know that WWE's done some of the mini game stuff occasionally. I want to see what AEW's take on that is. So yeah, if it comes out near the end of the year, I'll be excited for it. You know, I've been trying to do some game streams. You know, I've been trying. I did one for 2K22 a while ago, and that fell off. I want to get back into that, but I also really want to stream this game as well when it comes out. So based on what I saw in this trailer, has me more pumped up for its eventual release. Well, we are more than a week into the Triple H era in WWE, and we're already seeing signs of some positive changes from the previous regime. Now there's some good news for fans who are picky about the company's specific terminology. The Wrestling Observer is reporting that things backstage are calmer and more relaxed since the shakeup, and that words like wrestling and wrestler are no longer considered dirty words words that need to be cleared before they're uttered. Well, anyone who has followed WWE for any length of time can pick up on the fact that they love their specific verbiage when talking about things, and they say things in a way that really try and steer away from the wrestling side of this wrestling organization. So hearing that those words, wrestler and wrestling, are making a comeback, or they're allowed again, it's definitely encouraging news. It seems like a small change, but I think that it could have long-lasting effects, because if wrestlers and writers aren't stressing out and worried about saying the right words at the right time, we gotta say that, we gotta say, title opportunity, not title shot. We gotta say championship, not belt. If these changes happen as well, then I think that could really have, a trickle-down effect. If people aren't stressed about that verbiage, they can focus on the real important stuff. So I think it's a great step in the right direction. I think that to have WWE pretend like it's in this bubble where wrestling itself doesn't really exist is pretty silly. So for them to kind of welcome that kind of conversation and language back into the lexicon, I think can only be a good thing. By the way, what other Vince-isms, what other WWE specific terminology that you hate do you want to see change with Triple H now in charge? Let me know in the comments section. A warrant's been issued for the arrest of a prospective WWE star after he's been accused of sexual assault. It's been reported that WWE NIL signee AJ Ferrari has been charged with one felony count of sexual battery after a woman filed and received an emergency protective order early last month. A hearing is set for September 15th. Ferrari's legal team says they remain confident that AJ will be exonerated and that the facts will prove his innocence. The 21-year-old Ferrari wrestled for Oklahoma State University with a 30-1 career and a national championship his true freshman season before being dismissed from the team on July 13th. He was introduced as part of WWE's inaugural collegiate signing class. WWE has yet to comment on his standing at this time. Well, don't call it a comeback. Matt Cardona is making his in-ring return later this month. The former NWA World's Heavyweight Champions announced he'll be making his return against an opponent of his choosing on August 27th as part of NWA 74 in St. Louis, Missouri. Cardona suffered a bicep tear back in May and was forced to relinquish the world title as a result. The two-night event will also feature Camille defending the NWA Women's World title against Taya Valkyrie, a Kings Highway street fight for the women's tag belts, a 10-team battle royal for the U.S. Tag Team Championship, Trevor Murdoch defending the World's Championship against Tyrus, and much more. For tickets and information, go to nwatix.com. Time to talk about my favorite thing in wrestling this week. Now, I could talk about what happened at StarCast this past weekend when Sean Ross Sapp confronted Billy Body about his putrid comments online, which was a pretty awesome moment, but instead I'm going to focus on some good news that really matters.
After 8 weeks, here we go, tough guy.
That's right, ring the bell. Hacksaw Jim Duggan's announced he has completed his radiation treatment to fight his prostate cancer. The Hall of Famer endured 39 treatments after announcing his cancer had come back in May. We here at Wrestling with Regret congratulate Hacksaw on completing his treatments. Keep up the good fight. That's going to do it for this week in Regret. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm sure next Friday I'll be talking about whatever story inevitably drops right after this video goes live. So it goes. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.